You're listening to the 40 Fit Radio podcast, dedicated to the 40-plus community. Join us as we discuss the truth about fitness and health using science, reason, and the experiences of our host and content experts. Welcome to the 40 Fit Nation.
Can I get a little more pop on that snare?
I think this whole mic and pop filter is covered in COVID.
Yes.
COVID.
It's COVIDious.
Rona. Hey, so welcome back to 40 Fit Radio and welcome back to the 40 Fit Nation. Trent and I are in the house and we are alive and healthy and just feeling frisky.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, feeling good.
Alive, alert, enthusiastic.
Yes. Have you been training much?
Dude, yes,
I saw you squat heavy the other day. You squatted 405 for heavy single, I think? Or
yeah,
something?
well, you know, I've been hitting some heavy. I've got, in theory, I have a strength lifting meet on June 13th, so I got to, I'm trying to prep for this thing in case it happens. I'm going to hit some PRs, whether it's in the gym or at a meet.
Some PRs.
Yeah, but no, I actually I squatted. I've been all up in my head about squats. I just haven't been feeling good. I was hitting them too deep, getting all relaxed and stuff, and
all up in it, too deep and relaxed.
That's right. It's like you hang on loosely.
Yeah, that one rep you did. I think you posted on Instagram. You kind of you didn't bottom out, but you got a little soft in the bottom.
I did,
and then that caused your knees to valgus.
So I've been really working on that, and I feel like I turned a corner this weekend. I squatted 415 for a single, and it felt good. It felt a mile high, but when I watched the video, it was actually perfect depth. Yeah. So I've just got to tell myself to squat high, and then I did a back off set of 3 at 375, and that felt super solid. So I'm feeling good about that. And then I'm trying to get my deadlift to 500. That's the next goal.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I got to get that back on track.
Love me some 5.
I pulled 430 for a double last week, and man, I really want that to be like 450, 460 for a double. But
I was supposed to deadlift last night, and I went with the feels instead and didn't deadlift.
Yeah,
I need to feel more about my workouts.
Well, we're going to talk about that here today.
Well, first, so there was this guy on one of the Facebook pages. I got to just talk about this.
Yeah.
There was this guy on one of the Facebook pages. Great guy, I'm sure. I don't know the guy from Adam. But he was commenting about, what do you guys do when you get anxiety before you squat? I mean, how do you handle anxiety before you squat? And I commented on there, you just get up under the bar. You set your safeties. That is the anxiety deferrer there.
Right.
You set your safeties. Nothing's going to happen bad other than you crash the rep.
Yeah.
You bottom out at the rep and you can't make it out of the bottom. Yeah. But you got your safety set. So as long as you got your safety set, there should be minimal anxiety with a heavy lift. Now, is it in your head a little bit? Yes, it is. Is there a little anxiety? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Competition anxiety, maybe it's PR or whatever, or you're at the top of your LP, so it's a working set PR. But ultimately, we don't feel that working set. We just do it.
Right.
We just do it. So you just get up under the bar, set your safety so you're safe, because, above all things, we got to be safe. Don't start me on that conversation of coddling the American mind.
I can see your temples just pulsing right now.
Yeah, my face is even redder than it normally is. And so, above all things, we got to be safe. And so, but you just get in there and you get the work done.
Yeah. There's no, if you're doing it right, strength training programming is super boring and iterative, and there's no surprises really. There's very little surprises.
It's crazy super safe.
Yeah, and so if it's the first time you've ever squatted 315, let's say,
right,
and you've done 310, 305, right, 300, and you've built up a habit of you approach the bar the same way every time. You do your little pre-lift routine every time the same way, and that to me that's the way that I get over the anxiety. It's I'm just doing the exact same movements every time. My left foot's forward, my right foot's back. I put my right hand on the bar first,
and
left hand,
methodical.
get underneath.
It's automatic.
It never changes, and that's sort of the thing that calms me down.
Yeah. Well, I a lot of athletes, a lot of competitors, people that do sporting events in all different genres, use what's called a neural engram. They use this pattern of movement that occurs right before they get ready to perform whatever it is. Musicians do it too.
Yeah.
And the best example of an engram would be a major league pitcher. He goes through a set group of movement patterns or iterations of movement patterns before he pitches.
You're right.
And all you have to do is step outside the batter's box after he's already set to throw, step outside the batter's box for just a second, and then he's got to go all through that again.
Yeah. So do the batters too.
There's a whole set of, those are called engrams. So lifters, they kind of do the same things. They have a whole set of movement patterns that are associated with it. And that's what we want. We want people to some extent, we don't want them to become robots, but we want to get them to the point where they have a set group of habits that are good quality form, movement habits, that are good quality technique and safety habits that allow them to be efficient in the gym.
Yeah.
There are very few surprises in the gym. That's what I love about barbell training.
Right.
And yet the other thing I love about barbell training, or training in general, whether it be CrossFit, barbell training, any significant physical discipline or physical fitness endeavor, is that it introduces the hard to you and the area where you might fail.
That's right.
And we need that. We need the hard. We don't need to be safe all the time.
No.
I want to do an episode on that. I freaking want to do an episode, and I will rant and rant and rant.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do an episode soon.
We got to do an episode.
The culture of safetyism.
Yes, that's got it. And why the barbell is the answer. It's one of the answers.
It's one of the answers
to the culture of safetyism, because it introduces a perception of less safety on a regular basis.
It's exposure without danger.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. It's what we talk about all the time. I love that. So today we're going to talk about Don't Call It a Comeback. Yeah. Who is that? LL Cool J?
That's LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Mama said knock you out. Right.
Mama said knock you out. Mama said knock you out. White guy rapping. It's scary.
White.
Extremely white.
Well, red now, but
red right now.
But so we're going to talk about coming back from a long layoff. Now, we've done an episode already about deloads in general. We called that life deloads. I don't remember what episode that is, but you can go back and listen to that one too. But we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about what people are dealing with now, today, where a lot of people this week are able to go back to gyms. If not this week in your area, it might be a couple weeks from now. It might be a month from now. So we wanted to talk about, what do you do when you finally can get back to training, but it's been a month or 6 weeks or maybe even longer. And maybe in that process, it hasn't just been that you haven't been able to train. Maybe you've gotten sick too.
Right.
For those of you who have gotten COVID or the flu or some other serious illness.
Allergies, whatever.
That's right. So what do you do? How do you come back from a regular training program that you've had to abandon for whatever reason?
Right. Yeah, I think this podcast is so applicable to what we've got going on right now. And I think there are people that have gotten really sick with COVID, but they're going to get back into the gym, and we're probably looking at about 2 to 3 weeks before most communities allow some access to fitness facilities.
Right.
And so I think people are going to kind of be wondering, hey, where do I start? Where do I start when I go back to the gym if I am training with barbells? We're specifically going to talk about barbells, but I think these principles could apply to any fitness endeavor.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm glad you brought that up. If you had been doing a program where you were mixing strength training with conditioning and maybe even some skill work of some kind for your sport, I would strip all that back when you start back and start with just the barbell training. Start with the basics, just as if you were coming back, starting from nothing, right? We would always start with strength before we layer on other training modalities.
Right.
So strip it all back to the barbell to start with.
Right. So the first principle would be is to go back to the basics.
Go back to the basics.
That's the first principle, and that means that you're going to be saving all your recovery resources for getting back in the gym and getting your strength back up to a reasonable level where you want it.
That's right.
If you've been off since like the middle of March, you're going on 2 months of not lifting.
That's right.
Potentially. Now, you might be doing body weight stuff at home, and you might be able to curb some of the effects of detraining just a little bit, but you're still going to have detrained.
That's right.
So the first thing you're going to do, like you're talking about, is you're going to go back to the basics. So you're going to strip off any of the accessory work that you're doing and go back to, and what we'll say right up front is you're going to go back to a novice LP.
That's right.
Now, you're not going to be in a novice LP forever. You're not going to retrace your historical past and have to crush the novice LP like you did maybe 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
But simplify your programming right up front and go back to the basics and go into a novice LP to start with. So that means you're going to go to a 3-day-a-week training model, flipping the A and B days. So on the A days, you're going to be doing the squat press and the deadlift. On the B days, you're going to be doing the squat, bench press, and the deadlift. You could even throw chins in there. If you want to alternate deadlift and chins, you can do that too.
That's right.
But go back to the basics. And I would recommend that you do that for about, and it varies case to case. It depends. But I would say I recommend that you do that for probably 3 to 4 weeks. For the first month of training, post significant detraining, go back to the basics, simplify your program. Even if you were doing Texas Method, a 4-day split, all these other things, we need to get you some tension under load for time.
That's right. Yeah.
We need to get your connective tissue back under load. We need to get you moving again. We need to get your body used to producing higher levels of androgenic hormones, and we need to get that connective tissue rocking and rolling. So
that's right. Yeah.
First principle.
And on top of that, from a programming standpoint, programming is all predicated on stress, right? We're always trying to deliver just the right amount of stress to get you more strength or more adaptation of whatever your whatever fitness adaptation you desire, without pushing you so hard that we end up overtraining you, right? Or overreaching with your programming.
Correct.
So going back to a novice program simplifies all the variables back to as basic as they can get. Right. So it gives us a starting point to iterate your programming going forward. And that's something that I think a lot of people overlook is we have to start somewhere with your programming, and we have to get some data based on how you respond to that programming in order to know what to do next. Right. And so going back to LP, it doesn't matter how advanced you are. Let's say you were a competitive powerlifter that just got done with a 12-week block and just did a meet in February, and now you haven't been able to train for 2 months. It doesn't matter. Go back to LP. Now, for that person is going to be an LP maybe only for a couple weeks.
Right, exactly.
Whereas the person who is had done their first intermediate program, let's say Texas Method, maybe is going to have more time they can spend in LP.
Right. And my whole philosophy with the 40-plus population is that you lose strength and muscle mass very quickly. Very quickly.
The detraining effect.
2 weeks of bed rest for a patient in the hospital who's reasonably healthy still, just put you in a bed for 2 weeks. You'll lose minimum 10 to 15% of your top tier strength, maybe more. And so you're losing muscle mass, you're losing strength. It's unrealistic to step back in. And it's also kind of haphazard to do that. You want to be a little bit more careful about how you do that. So I always say this, if you yield to be a little bit more conservative, what does it cost you? A little bit more time. But if you're too aggressive, what it has cost you? A torn hamstring off your ischial tuberosity, or a popped bicep, or a bad back strain, or something like that. And so we want to let you gradually just kind of get back into the program over the next 3 to 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. Now, if you're rocking along after a week or two, and you say, man, these 5-pound, 10-pound jumps are just not enough. I mean, this feels easy. Then we can go by your feels a little bit there.
Right.
And we can say, all right, let's take a 20-pound jump. Let's take a 15-pound jump.
Exactly.
In your upper body lifts, let's take a 10-pound jump. In your deadlift, let's take a 25-pound jump. And we can accelerate that because your body's going to respond really quickly because you were already conditioned and you already had a good strength base prior to having to be off. So principle number 1 is simplify your program right on the front end and go to a novice LP, no matter where you were, and do that for an average of this population, this aged population, 3 to 4 weeks, probably.
Sure.
About
Yeah.
a month of just rocking it out, doing your thing.
Absolutely. And let's talk about kind of some ballpark percentages you should be looking at, right?
Sure. So we're going to talk about weight loads. So
Yeah.
principle number 2.
Yeah. How do we deload here, right? Because we
Right.
know we can't go right back to where we were. We've lost some top tier strength.
Right.
Some of that is going to be motor neuron recruitment, just your nervous system being ready to lift
you get
heavy
that
weights.
back after a workout.
That's right. That stuff's going to come back quickly. The rest is going to be the conditioning of the muscles, right? Building back some of that lost muscle mass.
Right.
So, in general, if somebody is off for, let's say, a week or two, or they've been sick, I say, as a general rule, take 10% off. In
Right,
this
correct.
case, we've got a much more prolonged
Yeah, up to 2 months
time,
for a lot of people.
up to 2 months for a lot of people. So I would say a minimum of 20% off your previous working weights. For some people, it's depending on how strong you were. Some people you might go 30% off,
Yeah.
40% off if you were very strong.
Yeah, and I would say what I would do is in that first workout, I would almost have that workout be a test workout.
Sure. Yeah.
And I would do it the same way in some ways that we would start a novice LP. I'd have them work up to a slowing bar path, moderately challenging, like on an RPE, if we used a rate of perceived exertion scale. This is something we do with people sometimes, but I'm careful about doing this because we don't use RPE very often, but this is a good example of how we might use it. 0 would be no exertion at all. It's you laying in bed at home, laying on the couch watching an episode of Ozark or something.
Right.
You know, a level 10 is a maximum level of exertion. It's the most pressure or the hardest lift you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
Like a 1 rep max lift at a competition powerlifting
Yeah,
meet.
and it is a true 1 rep max. That
Yes,
means like
exactly.
if somebody holds a gun to your
Just
head,
crushing you.
you honest to God could not, absolutely no way
Right.
you could do another rep.
And so a level 5 to 6 would be somewhere in the middle. It's going to be moderately challenging, but it's going to feel lighter than heavier. I do want it to feel lighter than heavier.
Right.
And I want to see a slight slowing of the bar path.
Right.
That's how I would start any untrained novice individual.
Right.
So if you're a previously trained individual with the habits and the skill set and the time under load and the historical lifting information that we have on you, then why wouldn't I at least do that as
Sure.
a start? So what I will do on that first workout is make that first workout kind of a test workout. We'll squat, press, and deadlift. We'll work up to a moderate load, and we'll just kind of use your previous programming. We might come off of that programming for a 2-month layoff. We might estimate that you're probably going to be at about 20, 25% of where you were in your last workout based on where you were in your
Right.
programming. Like you said, if you were, 2 years in to powerlifting training and you were lifting crazy heavy, we might be 30% off of that.
That's right.
We
Yeah.
might be
and
a
it
greater
will
amount.
and it will come back faster for that
Exactly,
person too. But
exactly.
but because they were so strong, we need to be careful about how much stress they're going to put
Right.
on their body day one. Right.
Right. And so then what we'll do is we'll get you under load. Let's say you were pressing and when you left the gym pre-COVID, you were pressing 155 for 3 sets of 5 as a male. For a female, you were pressing 95 for 5 sets of 3, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. You come back into the gym. For a male, we might work you up to 115, 120-ish.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
there's a slight-
95.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a slight slowing of the bar path. You can get 3 sets of 5 done with it, and you feel comfortable, and you're glad you're in the gym.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to start.
And one easy way to do that, if you're just not sure about the percentage, if you don't have a good idea of how much percentage you should take off your weight, one easy way to approach what Darin was just saying is just take your normal warm-up jumps. If you've been training before, you pretty much know what your warm-ups are.
Right.
And
You've got your log.
And they're probably the same every workout. Like if I'm going to warm up to, let's say, a 315 squat, it's always the same. Empty bar, 135, 225, 275, right? And so as you iterate through your warm-ups, you can start to feel how heavy is this, right? And it might get to 225. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's plenty, and I'm going to stop there today. Or
Right.
you might be like, okay, that was still pretty easy, so go to 275.
Yeah.
Okay, that's starting to feel hard now, so I'm going to do my sets
Same
of
way
5 there.
same way you would normally do it. But remember, don't worry about the weight.
That's right.
And
Doesn't matter.
If you've got a reasonable amount of durability and and hardness developed, then just go by the bar speed, the quality of the movement, and how the lift feels. If it feels crazy heavy, but the bar speed is really, really fast, look at it on a video or have your coach look at it and say, hey, bar speed's crazy fast. I know it feels heavy today, but the bar speed's still rocking and rolling. Let's go up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So use some level of analysis there to get you rocking and rolling. But no matter what, if you err on the side of being too conservative, that's okay. We can bump you back up.
That's right.
If you try to be too aggressive out of the gate, you're at a greater risk for injury, and you're at a greater risk for not getting back into your full potential.
That's right. Now, I will give you a warning because I've done this myself. I'm sure you've done the same thing. It's very, very easy to do too much squat work day one back in the gym.
Sure.
Often, you'll find that weight that feels maybe a little bit challenging, but you're definitely erring on the side of caution, and you do your first work set of 5 there. And then you're like, okay, that wasn't too bad. I'll do another one.
Yeah.
Nope. I highly recommend you start back with 1 set of 5 on squats specifically.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're going to be world-endingly sore the next day.
Yeah. I think that I would I won't disagree with you there, but I would probably say this. I historically get very little soreness from barbell training.
Yeah.
Even when I started as a novice, I had very little soreness. So I would probably say, for me, I could do 3 sets of 5 coming out of the gate. And there are many lifters, clients that I think we could do that with. I would probably say stick to the novice plan.
Sure.
Try to get 3 sets of 5 if you can, but know your lifter. Know yourself. Have a little self-awareness and know how you feel after that first workout of being a brand new lifter again. You're not a brand new lifter again, but at the same time, just kind of know yourself. You know, what is it? Lifter, know thyself.
That's right. Yeah. So I've done it many times where I've come back and squatted at 3 sets of 5, and probably I was squatting too heavy.
I was about to say, you're probably squatting too heavy though.
Probably picked too heavy. Yeah, probably picked too heavy of a weight.
It's a big stimulus off the bat.
And the hamstrings get so sore. It's crazy. It's because that big stretch reflex, the bottom of the lift. So what one approach that I take is I'll do the first workout back. I'll do 1 set of 5 on squats. Second workout back, 2 sets of 5, then 3. So at the end of the week, I'm back to 3 sets of 5.
Yeah.
But you certainly could also. I think probably if you had less training history under your belt, if let's say you've been lifting for 3 or 4 months and then you had to lay off, you'd probably be fine doing 3 sets of 5 on the squat. Yeah. Now on the pressing movements, bench and overhead press, I'm fine doing 3 sets of 5.
Yeah,
I think you ought to. You really need that extra
stimulus and that time under load.
That extra volume. Yeah.
Yeah, the volume. Yeah, so principle number 1, again, is simplify your program. Go back to a novice LP for a short period of time and get rid of all the secondary, tertiary stuff. Get rid of all the accessory stuff. Simplify things a little bit. Go back to the big compound lifts. Number 2 is to deload and to use the same principle that we would if you were just starting out in the program, and to find that starting weight. But you can estimate that probably with a 2-month layoff, that could be somewhere between 20% to 30 to 40% based on your lifting history. But let the weight guide you there. Let the bar speed guide you and the quality of the movement, and then start there. But you can always start more conservatively than aggressively, and there's no harm in that. You're still going to get strong again. You're still going to get back. And in all actuality, you may notice that that time off too has allowed some stress recovery, and that this second cycle in, you just crush it.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. I'll have lifters at the gym take off time for vacation, and granted, it's not 2 months. That's a different situation, but I'll have people take off time or maybe get sick or whatever, or just for whatever reason, we just decide that this programming cycle is not working. Let's go back to LP. And we'll do that from time to time. Almost always on at least one lift, they hit a PR.
Yeah.
Of 3 sets of 5.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
It's a really powerful and simple training program.
Right.
And it just works, man.
Right, and I think with those first 2 principles, those are solid starts. And then the last principle, I would say, that I recommend all of our lifters to do, period, is to get back to some good daily habits if you've begun to miss some of those habits. If you've dropped your nutrition back, your protein intake and your caloric base back, because you knew you were going to be less active and you didn't want to gain a bunch of weight, body fat or whatever, then get back to your good habits, your nutrition habits, your sleep habits, your rest habits, all of those things. Make sure that those things are spot on, because now you've got more stress in the system, and you need to make sure that you have the right recovery resources available to adapt to the training, to take the stress, the recovery, and the adaptation, and make that whole cycle work right. The other thing to think about here too is if you were off for 2 months, and let's say you did some home workouts, some body weight work, some conditioning work. I mean, you've still been active. You've been doing things, okay? So you're going to jump right back into this. And within probably 30 days, you're going to be pretty close to where you were before based on your training history. It might take you a little longer, a little less, based on how advanced you were in your program. But let's say you took 2 months off and you got sick. You really got sick and you lost 20 pounds of weight. Say you got COVID-19 and you got really sick and your body scavenged muscle mass. That's a totally different story.
Right.
And your immune system may still be recovering from that event. And so I would say be more conservative when you come to the gym. You need to be in the gym. Your body needs to be under work. It needs to be under the hard, but you got to be a little bit more tolerant with yourself when you come in, and just recognize that you've been really, really ill, potentially, especially if you were hospitalized. You've probably lost a lot of muscle mass. And yes, you have to rebuild that up.
Yeah.
You have to rebuild that up, but you'll be able to rebuild it up.
Yeah.
Just like you built it the first time. It might just take you a little while. And so when you come in, again, all of those other things need to be spot on, and you need to be looking for the signs of overtraining and making sure that you are adapting, and that you're not in a state of a total state of being catabolic, meaning broken down on a regular basis, and then you're not adapting to it. And so go back and listen to our episode also on overtraining and the signs and symptoms of overtraining, so that you can keep that in your mind fresh. So you might start off a lot lighter. I mean, if you might take a 30-40% drop in load, especially if you lost 20 pounds of muscle mass.
That's right. Yeah. A couple of years ago, I went and visited our friend Matt Reynolds up in Springfield, and I got there, and I don't know what it was. I picked up a really bad stomach bug, and I spent almost the entire time at their house just, in bed, recovering. And I ended up in that whole process, I lost like almost 20 pounds. I went from like 210 to like 192.
Yeah, that's a totally different lifter.
And I wasn't able to train for like a couple weeks after that. I was just completely out of energy. And I had to take a huge step back. And it took me, a solid 4 months to kind of get back to where I was. And I decided not to gain that much weight back, but it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. I think part of what we do here is we give ourselves the tool set to build ourselves back from anything physically, right?
Right.
And that's kind of, I think, it on the one hand, man, it really sucks to have to do all that work again to get back to where you were. But on the other hand, think about this powerful tool that you have. You're going to be able to get back up, and you know now how to train yourself back to a strong, healthy, hard to kill person.
Yeah, and I want to promote everybody out there. If you got sick over this time, or let's say you've had an injury over this time, whatever, I mean, you're listening to the voice of reason and experience here.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 4 separate, I don't like to tell a lot of people, but I've said this on other podcasts, but I had 4 separate back surgeries within the same 12 months, same calendar year. So I had to try to rebuild or get back into shape again, get the muscle mass developed after being cut on 4 separate times. And then my last surgery, which was a lumbar fusion, and have had to rebuild that back. And so I get it. It's tough. It sucks. It's no fun. It's depressing sometimes. But you know what? All you've got is the work ahead of you. Just get started. That's all you have to do. Don't think about the whole journey back. Don't be anxious about coming into the gym again for the first time. And it's not a huge event. It's a great event that you're going to be able to do that again.
Right.
And by the way, the freedom to do that has never left your person. The problem is that we've been stripped by the authorities in our communities and our governmental, local, and state authorities to do that, which I think is a violation of your constitutional rights, but that's for another episode. And so, but I think, you know what? You just got to get back in there. Don't be anxious about it. Have fun. Focus on the positive. And recognize that you are right back in the game doing something again to get yourself strong again, get yourself where you want to be.
Absolutely.
So, man, I think we've covered this adequately.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Just remember to make sure that those recovery resources are there. And that principle number 3, make sure you got that good nutrition, vitamins and minerals. If you have been sick, you might want to look at maybe also some good gut health stuff. We need to do a podcast on gut health and just vitamins and minerals in that area, and making sure that you've got good vitamin C, B12, B complex, vitamin D, vitamin E, A, that you have all those zinc and magnesium, vitamins and minerals necessary as substrates to help you recover. So, hey guys, thanks for joining the 40 Fit Radio, and thanks for joining the 40 Fit Nation. If you want to check us out on Instagram, you can go to @40 Fit Radio. Trent is @Marmalade Cream. I'm @Dr. Deaton. Also go to the 40 Fit Nation Facebook page and like us there. Join that page. We'll invite you, or we'll accept you there.
Yeah.
It is a private page.
That's right.
And so
we've had some good discussion lately. We've had some members asking questions about programming, about equipment, all that kind of stuff. So whatever you got, if you got a question about how to come back in your specific situation, man, leave us a question on that page.
Absolutely. And
be happy to answer it.
I've been getting more emails lately, which has been great, at our email address, which is info@40fit.com. I've gotten 2 emails this week on injuries, and they relate to podcasts that we've done. One particular 40 Fit Nation member sent an email requesting about ankle issues and ankle arthritis, and he's probably going to have an ankle replacement, and what he should do about that, and how he should train around it or train with it. And he got it from our podcast, The Heavy Enough. But he also listened to bad advice from good doctors.
Right.
Episode 2. So he was just, saying, hey, what do I do here? And so we love to hear your comments.
Great.
We'd love to answer questions that we feel appropriate that we can answer. So thanks for joining us today, and thank you for being part of the 40 Fit Nation. Stay healthy and stay smart out there, and enjoy your day.